Hey, good evening. Welcome to Upondo Radio and Upondo TV. Upondo Community Network is our platform of choice in as far as communicating our Africanness, communicating who we are as African people, and basically seeing to it that we understand the concept and essence of who we are as African people. Tonight, we'll be looking mainly at issues related to our health. This show is to a great extent a show that is aimed at addressing issues pertaining to our health. It has more to do with how we as African people take care of our health and therefore take care of our well-being and the future of who we are as Africans. I will basically hand over to the host of our show, namely Uthando Msomi, who will lay down the basics of where we are going and what we are doing and the importance of what we are discussing tonight. The one thing that I will say as just before Uthando comes in is the fact that the School of African Awareness was created primarily for purposes of ensuring that we get to know and understand ourselves as African people. We get to come to a position where we correct the ills of the diseducation and miseducation of the African. In so doing, it necessarily means we also have to revisit what we understand about nutrition, what we understand about health, what we understand about who we are as African people in many different ways. So I will hand over to Thando, and she will basically break it down for us. Hi, Thando.
Hi, Advocate Savelo. How are you?
How are you doing?
I'm very well, thanks. And yourself?
Hey, I'm great. I'm very, very excited about this
Yeah,
program. I hope you're as excited as I am, if not more excited.
finally, finally, finally,
Hey,
it's been
hey,
happening.
finally.
Finally, it's happening. I mean, there's been so much background planning that we have had in preparation for this day. And I'm equally as excited that our first episode of our health and wellness talk is airing today. And we're looking forward to the journey. It's been an interesting one with the topic of discussion that we have today, as we're going to be discussing more in depth on Umhlonyane. And looking forward to the journey in terms of rediscovering research that is available for us in terms of African awareness and my profession in nutrition and science and health and wellness at large.
No, that's great. I'm very, very happy about that. What I'll do now is basically hand over to you, and you can introduce yourself, let the viewers know who you are, and brief background, so that as you go into the subject, and also to introduce your guest for the evening. Over to you, Thando.
Right. Good evening to all our viewers out there. My name is Tando Lwakim Somi. I'm a registered dietitian by profession. I've got my practice by name, which is Noltando Dietetic Services, that is based in Randburg, Johannesburg. And yeah, I've been tasked to be your host within the health and wellness space and all the talks that we're going to have under the School of African Awareness. I'm not alone. I'm not alone this evening. I'm joined by Dr. Mutibe. So his full name is Dr. Gaupalelwi Murwa Mutibe, and he is a medical doctor with an MBCHB degree from Wits University. He's currently doing his 22nd year in practice as a general practitioner in the Northern Cape of the province of Azania, where he does sessions at the local hospital. He is a married man, a father of 3 daughters, and has always been a member of AZAPO, the Azanian People's Organization, a Black consciousness organization rooted in Steve Biko's consciousness philosophy. He's currently provisional chairperson and holds great passion with regards to the Black condition in Azania and elsewhere in the world. And that's Dr. Mutive. Good evening, Doctor. You're online. Hello.
I hope you can hear me.
Good evening, Doctor.
Yeah, good evening, Tando. Good evening to
How are
everybody.
you?
I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Perfectly.
I'm okay,
Perfectly.
thank you. Yes.
All right. All right. So let's get into the topic of this evening's discussion. Okay. So I was excited when Advocate Sabelo approached me because it was already a topic that had sparked some interest for me in terms of the attention that it was gaining, Umhlonyane. And we've put it as a question that we are posing, and it's almost a rhetorical question, that is this indeed the African wonder herb that we have found? You know, within the research that I've been looking at, I've seen so much beneficial properties of this herb that I'm quite convinced on my side that in actual fact there's a lot of potential that this herb actually holds. So we do know that when the first cases of coronavirus sparked, I mean, there's been so much frenzy on the media, so much being spoken about, everybody's in panic mode, and some information has been misleading, you know. There's been a lot of fake news, and the area of health and wellness, and more especially when we look into the nutritional space, has not been spared from that, from certain types of potions where you're mixing bicarbonate of soda with lemon juice and what is the other ingredient? I think it was apple cider vinegar being posed as to have curative properties for COVID-19. But there's so much research or ground that has been gained when it comes to Artemisia, which is the genus name of Umhlonyane that we're going to be speaking about today. So more recently, we began to make some strides in research developments, and one of the key developments that has gained much interest is the Madagascan government's herbal mixture that was developed by a Congolese doctor, Dr. Jerome Munyagi, and the Mangalese Institute of Applied Research. So this tonic we had seen on social media, the president of Madagascar actually laying claim to it as being curative, that it can actually cure against the novel coronavirus. So there were bottles that were branded COVID Organics or CVO, And we do know from media that this Artemisia-based tonic has now been sent to several other African countries, including Tanzania, Equatorial Guinea, Comoros, Guinea-Bissau, and Niger, to assist in fighting against the global pandemic that has to date claimed so many lives. We're looking at hundreds and thousands of lives that it's actually claimed to this date. So we're in a space and context of today taking a closer look at this formula, which in its genus name is Artemisia. And Artemisia actually has a variety of species. So the one that is found in Madagascar is Artemisia annua, which locally would either call Umhlonyane, or you'd correct me if my pronunciation isn't right, Doctor, or Lingana. Am I saying it right? Lingana. Yes. So that's how we'd call it in our vernacular. And we want to look at its origin, because if you're any person who maybe didn't know much about it until you heard of it on the news, you'd be asking yourself, what is Artemisia? You know, so I'd like us to do that initially, just look at what is Artemisia and what are the founded curative properties that consistent research, because it's not as if research is only beginning now. The research development that we're looking at right now is largely in line with it curing COVID-19, but there has been previous studies that have been done on this product, and in actual fact, a derivative of it from the annua has been used in medicine to treat malaria. So that's important for us to know, that there is a foundation that we're working on. And I think as we're speaking about foundation and we're speaking about knowledge, there's also a plethora of African traditional knowledge that we're working on in terms of how it's been used and how it's actually benefited our people for many years. And that's a question that I'm going to pose to you very soon, Doctor, once we cover just the basics on this Artemisia. All right, so we'll look at its origin, we'll look at its strength, and we'll look at its action in being able to actually boost the immune system, which again, there is found, there's been some research that has actually found that it is possible. It can actually have antiviral properties. It's got some anti-inflammatory properties, and also has been found to have some ability to fight against COVID, the COVID virus. Not to say particularly COVID-19, but if it were able to, why would there be any, that's what the research now has to look into, that would it not actually be able to assist with COVID-19 moving forward? All right. So Artemisia is a genus name that consists of 500 species that occur throughout the world. Some very important drug leads, as I had said, have been discovered from this genus, notably artemisinin, which is a well-known anti-malarial drug isolate from the Chinese herb Artemisia annua. So in the South African region, it's Artemisia afra that is the one that is most popular and commonly used as herbal traditional medicines. And in South Africa, it grows in the northern provinces of Gauteng and Limpopo, can be found in the eastern parts of the country, and also within the KZN region from the coastal to the Drakensberg region. So the household names that Artemisia afra can go by would either be wild wormwood, or Lingana. Am I saying it right now?
That's right. That's right.
Yes, or Umhlonyane, as we had said before. So the uses that I found for Umhlonyane are actually very vast. As being one of the popular medicinal plants in South Africa, its stem, roots, and leaves may be used for different purposes and in different ways also. So there are different routes of intake, which is important for us to note, that you can either have it orally, or you can, use it to inhale. So you can put the leaves into boiling water and inhale the vapor that comes from that. I've seen that it can sometimes be used in infusions, body washes, lotions, can be smoked, it can be snuffed, or what was common on the news recently, be drunk as tea. That's what we were seeing most commonly on the news lately, that people were making it into a concoction that can be actually drunk. And what is it used to treat? It's been found to be useful to treat colic, colds, heartburn, flatulence, croup, gout. I mean, the list is actually quite long. The list is very comprehensive of what diseases it would be able to treat. So a question that just comes to mind, doctor, from all of this is, um, had you had any previous knowledge about this herb? Do you know of it? Maybe whilst growing up, has anybody in your family ever used it? Have you used it in your private and personal capacity? Or maybe even know of patients, more especially in this season that we are in with COVID-19, who have tried it and seen some results for themselves. How has it been for you, doctor?
No, thank you. Thank you for the question, Tando. And again, I'm happy to be here to be part of the discussion. I'm sure I'm going to gain a lot of this information and knowledge. As regards your question, what I can say is Lingana is like almost every yard has got it in their backyard. It's always been what we grew up on. It's so ubiquitous here that sometimes people don't have anything in the garden, but they have that and maybe some other herbicidal plants there. So it's very, very, very common. We grew up, like having it. In the main, it was mainly used for us. It was used for flus, colds, and like fever and that. But earlier on, you were trying to say what is its uses. I wanted to say just say everything because
basically the list is so comprehensive.
Even psychiatric,
Absolutely.
what is can be used for depression, for
Oh
anxiety,
my
for lack of
goodness.
sleep, and all that, such that it makes the topic actually very apt. That is a wonder drug. It's a wonder medicinal, what to say, avenue that we can explore. You asked me if I did use it in my practice. Because of the orientation, one doesn't use it routinely, but above everything else, I think it's because it's so ubiquitous here. Like I was mentioning earlier on, everybody, almost every yard has got some lingana there, just in case a child gets wayward and then they can be given the lingana. Just last week, I treated a patient who came to me for something else, but inside the plastic that she had, she said, "Can you see I've got some, lingana here in the place. I'm going to sit at home and all those things, and then I'm going to sleep so that I can feel much better." So it's being used in that sense. But if you say I'm using it routinely at my practice, I would say definitely not really, but that's because it's everybody's so freely accessible to everybody.
Wow. So are you saying it just grows wildly in our backyard? You don't actually need to harvest it and plant it, get seeds or anything of that sort?
It grows with ease, and it's actually it's one of the
Wow.
hardy plants, and
Yes,
such that
yes.
even we can just take a twig and plant it, and it will take off. I'm in the Northern Cape, and it's kind of almost a semi-desert environment. It's kind of dry with
Yeah.
extremes of weather. It's very cold now, and in summer it gets very hot. But it's hardy. It can grow there. Like I say, some years you find there's really nothing in the yard, but generally there'll be some lingana. Otherwise, they'll rely on their neighbors for lingana. It will always be there somewhere.
That sounds very versatile, and I absolutely agree with you that it cures everything. I mean, the list still goes on. I've got hemorrhoids, measles, fever, sores, wounds, rashes, bites, stings. I've still got so much that research was able to give me in terms of its healing properties. So in respiratory infections, because that's what we're dealing with more specifically, what I'd found was that respiratory infections would be treated then through inhaling the vapor. So you'd put the leaves in boiling water and actually inhale the vapor, and that would be able to come into the lungs and bring some ease. What I found to be interesting, and more specifically now, since we're feeling the chills, it's cold, winter has come, it's flu season. During winter season, we're looking at flus and colds becoming more common. And not only are we dealing with your common cold or flu, but we're right now in the middle of a pandemic, and everybody is anxious. We want to have answers, and we want to have solutions. And the best way that we can find workable solutions is obviously going back to science and research and finding what's been founded as being most potent and most effective in being able to deal with those problems. So when we look at Umhlonyane in terms of its immune boosting aspects and its treatment in flu-related diseases, I was actually very, very excited with what research has been able to find. So my findings showed that in 2004, the University of Zululand had conducted a study that was where they combined an Artemisia afra with your standard form of your ARVs to treat HIV positive patients. And the results from that study showed they were positive, showing that Artemisia afra exhibits some kind of antiretroviral activity and immune boosting properties. So that's something important for us to note. Another study also that was conducted, they took some extracts from Artemisia afra, including some other forms of herbs, and it has been documented that those extracts displayed an anti-COVID effect from the screening analysis using hundreds of Chinese medicinal herbs. So I was excited to hear that. I was excited to hear that. And even when we'll look into further research that has been done, like more recently now, with the developments from Madagascar, we'll find that there's actually quite a number of supporting evidence that this could be our miracle herb, or our what did we call it? Our wonder herb, as we had said. What is your take, Doctor, in terms of these findings on the immune system?
Yeah, I would concur. It's really amazing. Lingana is really amazing. I mean, it's got so many properties, such that you're talking about research. There's also research which allude that there's a potential used with other herbs or other medicines. It's got anti-cancer properties. It can also be used to deworm. It's being used for that. You talked about flu. In other cases, you can take the leaves thereof and then just freshes the air, put them there for congestion in the nose, for congestion and it blocked nose, and then that becomes better. It's got analgesic properties. It's got relaxing properties, even antiseptic properties. That's why its use is so vast. I mean, it's used as poultices. We'll allude to other uses thereof. As regards the antiviral properties, yes, there's been some quite remarkable work done there. What one can say is that at present, it was clear as to whether that is very effective. It's totally antiviral or what. Because most of the researches done are done in combination with others. As you said, it's clear only antimalarial properties, but you'll find that it's also being used in combination with others, and then
with another
malarial properties are being enhanced.
Yeah.
So it's something that is a work in progress in terms of its antiviral properties.
Yes.
Although one must also hasten to mention, I think I mentioned this at another forum, that generally, if you hear of the word virus, there's no cure for any virus in the world right now. There's never been any cure for a virus.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember studying that at least for bacterial infections, you can cure that because there's a way that you can kill it. But a virus mutates. A virus is a living organism that, you know, that you would not actually be able to.
So this day, you cannot even pin down the HIV. You can bring it under control, but you can't pin it down and really treat it.
True.
You know, and you just suppress it. And so too flu. We get it every year. It's just keep changing and changing and changing. The reason why there's no cure for virus per se is because you get a virus or the cure in the morning for a virus, but by sunset that same virus has changed its shape. So it's difficult to pin it down. So therefore, as far as viruses are concerned, the hope would be vaccination and symptomatic treatment. Symptomatic is what we've been alluding to. Pains, we give something for that, and maybe for congestion, we give something for that, and so on and so on. Such that therefore, for Lengana, Umhlonyane, it will help a lot to relieve this symptom because it's got almost all the properties that can work to alleviate the symptoms. And it will be good in that sense.
So you're saying, Doctor, that we wouldn't really be looking at Lengana in the sense of being able to cure COVID-19, but just mainly to treat the symptoms of it. And we'd still obviously be vouching for a vaccine to be procured for us.
Yeah, that's because of the nature of viruses, like I alluded to earlier on. Because viruses, by their nature, there's really no cure in the world. There's absolutely no cure. I mean, even the cures that are there or supposed to be cures, they are actually near misses. You know, like you got herpes virus, which is what we call fever blisters. There's some things that you can use for it, but you have to use it within 24 hours, and even then, doesn't guarantee that the fever blister won't come back. So in that sense, the sense that viruses do not really have cures up to now. It will be nice though if COVID virus can hasten, you know, the work towards finding a cure for viruses. That will be good. So in that sense, the Umhlonyane Lengana would help a lot to alleviate the symptoms, especially in conjunction as an adjuvant therapy in conjunction.
In conjunction with another drug.
Yeah. And its properties, its effectiveness, there's no doubt about it because there is relief. There is a relief.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the next area and concern that I had about it was obviously where there's any form of drug intake, you'd want to know what's the safety level and whether there are any contraindications. So I've been hearing some things on the news with regards to that. Some traditional healers have been saying it's perfectly safe, you know, saying that you could use it even on your children. Doesn't matter how long you use it, there's no toxicity to the herb. Whilst still on the news, some people on media were saying that in actual fact, there are some contraindications. I remember hearing a news bulletin where they mentioned like your heart disease, diabetes as being some contraindications. Scientific literature, what it advises is that 8.96 grams per kilogram oral root would be too much to have, or 2.45 grams per kilogram intraperitoneal root could be harmful. So they're saying low doses as much as 1 gram per kilogram per day over a period of 3 months should not result in any significant change in behavior, body weight, hematology, or biochemical parameters, which would actually deem it quite safe or perfectly safe, but that's only within that given prescription of 1 gram per kilogram per day. So in my nutritional knowledge, I took it to the average weight of, let's say, an adult female, adult male, that it would be about 60 grams to 70 grams that we'd say is a perfectly safe intake that a person could have without having any adverse effects. So what would you allude to as your understanding with regards to the correct dosage? Do we have enough knowledge as yet to know that if we are going to be treating symptoms, this is how much we should be having per day of the herb? And what other question I had was its safety and long-term use, and whether you could verify for us that are there really any contraindications, or is it perfectly safe for everybody with any underlying conditions whatsoever?
Yeah, even if it wasn't for medicinal use, one would
Yes,
appreciate the fact that too much of anything can have some harmful effects.
absolutely.
Even food
Absolutely.
itself, you eat it too much.
Abs-
Right now, we are having a problem of obesity and all that, but that is
yes.
because of inappropriate intake of whatever, and that is like innocuous, harmless, like food every day.
Hmm.
Too much of
Yes.
it, body effects. So following
True.
from that, it should follow that probably, but it's just not probably actually, it is like that. Used inappropriately, it might have a problem, Lingana, that is. That's
Yeah.
such that generally is being recommended that it mustn't be used for a prolonged period. A prolonged period
Mm.
would be things like maybe for more than 7 to 10 days continuously.
Okay.
It must be
Okay.
limited. As to the
Mm.
dosage, it's actually not, nobody is sure. There's just an average
Mm.
that says, say maybe 2 teaspoons if it's crushed and dry, and if
All
it's
right.
fresh and you cut the leaves, make it four
Is that two
teaspoons in one
teaspoons per day?
uh, 2 teaspoons in 1 liter
Mm.
of water if it
Okay.
is crushed, if it's
Okay.
dry and crushed. And if
Mm.
it's
Mm.
fresh, the leaves you crush, well, you cut them, and 4 teaspoons of them. You can see it's still not specific enough. Well,
True.
if it's fresh leaves that are cut, it's 4 teaspoons thereof in 1 liter of water, and
Mm.
you drink that depending on what the symptoms are. So in
Mm.
terms of the dosage, there's really no way that one can say specifically this and that. But it is also complicated by the fact that, if you have an earache and if you have depression, you can't have the same
Yeah.
dosage. So you see, but the
Absolutely.
literature there is not clear as to how much the dosage is. And when
Mm.
it comes
Mm.
to side effects, there are side effects. As far back as the last century, it's being found that the
Yes.
type of Artemisia has had side effects. I think in
Mm.
France, it wreaked some havoc there with uh, liver problems, because
Is
people were
it?
overusing it. That had
True.
to stop. And there's a phenomenon and a disease, a syndrome that is being
True.
defined, confined to France because overuse of thereof.
Do
But
we
what
have a
is being found,
specific time period there that they were overusing it for how, what's the duration and period that they were using it for?
well, because it was used,
Mm.
it was a kind of social gathering whereby it was drank almost every day, but not,
Mm.
I'm not sure for how long. Almost like a tea, like tea. And then people just
Okay.
drink it because they didn't feel well, and you drink it continuously. And
True.
then over time, it was realized as a problem.
Mm.
So the
Mm.
signs of recorded signs of maybe overdose will be things like dizziness, confusion. They are mainly abdominal problems like pain, vomiting, sometimes diarrhea, but like I
Sure.
say, prolonged
That
use.
sounds very
Definitely
disgusting.
contraindicated, never to be used in pregnancy. There's an
Mm.
established was a phenomenon where it's been said that even in it's got central nervous system or mental or mind effects like dementia over some time.
Is it?
So there are established things that are associated with artemisia, but like
Mm.
you said earlier on, in moderation you should be able. It's almost like any other medicinal substance that you need to use. You need to use it with
Yes.
some precaution. Now, it also takes us to the fact that probably even more research needs to be done and needs to be
True.
formalized to make sure that it's on the safe side.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Which brings me to the next space. I mean, accessibility and affordability. Now that you've given us the clear picture in terms of what kind of side effects it can have, we do know that once it gained media attention, that a lot of our own people went onto the streets and have been selling and have been distributing it. It's available freely and widely. So accessibility is not the problem, and affordability wise, people on the streets have been selling 500 more bottles for about 100 rand. And when I checked online, the dried product of about 500 grams was selling for 90 rand. So affordability wise, it is also quite affordable. What do you feel, Doctor, about regulating the harvesting and sales then of the herbs, since we have alluded to the fact that it actually can be toxic if it's not consumed in the right way, and that people can use it. It's got the healing abilities, but everything with caution, everything with moderation. So what is your feel in terms of that? Because people are anxious. You know, some people, when they get anxious, they feel that the more they have, maybe it's the better the effect is going to be. But this is quite the opposite of what we're actually learning from our conversation right now. So what would your feel be in terms of the regulation of the harvesting and sales of the herbs be?
You know, Umhlonyane, it's in my view, it's for everybody. Everybody can have access to it. At least where I come from. I mean, I grew up drinking it and everything. And so everybody does have it, you know, like it's freely available. The regulation for me comes in terms of there more research to be done so that guidance can be given as to how much can be used. You said earlier on it's being sold as tea. You see more, you know, with modern times it's been packaged nicely and, you know, sold nicely in those packages of 90 rand or so.
Absolutely.
But then it will be important that people can be cautioned as to possible side effects, because there's no way we can say it can't have side effects, especially if it's overused. And the opposite is also true. We can say maybe it's not effective if it's not used properly. So there must be a fixed and proper guidelines that can show us and tell us that no, this is how you use it, and especially for this you use it this way, and for this you use this way. For me, I don't have a problem it being regulated, but I think we need more information as to how much it can be used. I suppose the good thing and how we survive with it, let's Lengana over time, over our years, using it and being growing amongst it, is because the way it was used, you had a problem, you use it. If it's fixed, you move away from it. You know. So we never had to stay for a long time on it, if you know what I'm trying to say. You had flu or you had fever, you had aches on your body, you use it, rest.
Use it to treat, and then
3 days. 3 days is too much. You're proper, and you can go on. So we never had that need to be using it for a long time, and that's how it was safe for us, I believe.
All right. Then speaking on further research, we do know that the Sub-Saharan African Regional Office of the World Health Organization had actually cautioned on the claim that the Madagascan president had given, and actually had put forward that there should be more research done to establish the efficacy and the safety through rigorous clinical trials using the Artemisia afra. And I think it's exciting. It's exciting to note that there has been research that has been underway around the world, partly with South Africa actually being involved in that research. Are you aware of the research, some research that has been going underway? What I've been able to get is KwaZulu-Natal government has asked a laboratory based in Sidara Agricultural College in Harwich to test if they can actually cure COVID-19 using Artemisia. And the South African Department of Science and Innovation has had bilateral agreements with its counterparts in Madagascar to collaborate in conducting research on traditional medicines also. So those are exciting developments in research locally. And that was something that we had actually discussed in our last meeting, that we actually need South Africans providing solutions for Africa and globally, in actual fact. What are your feelings and take in terms of that, Doctor?
I suppose that is the good news that will come out of this pandemic, COVID-19, that it is forcing us to explore all avenues, including driving us towards exploring Lengana. I'm aware of this agreement between South Africa and Madagascar to do some more research, but it is that more research needs to be done now to make sure that everything becomes clearer and clearer. But I think it's a good idea, like I say. Otherwise, we wouldn't be guided as to how much it would be, how it should be used, and what are possible maybe pitfalls as far as it's concerned. But above everything else, maybe it could do more than what we think it can do now. So with research, we can actually be enlightened as to how far can we go with it, because there's no doubt. I think, in fact, universally one can say confidently, there's no doubt that it's got properties, even historically. Outside Africa and it's being used, and then these properties, there's no doubt about it. It's just they've never been quantified. And
absolutely.
So, in a way, it's a blessing such that we now are forced to exploit because we are desperate for cures. We are now forced to explore Lengana. We are now forced to explore even other alternatives of African medicines that can be used, that they've always been there and we've always used.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think maybe on that point would be some of my closing remarks. So my closing remarks have to do or go in line with Chinese traditional medicine. That even in my own practice, when we speak about green tea, for example, we need to go back to knowing that that's actually the roots of Chinese traditional medicine, and that has actually become adopted into our lifestyles globally, has become a norm for us to accept that as normal treatment for certain conditions. So we honestly need to get to a space where even our own indigenous knowledge is able to become that as socially acceptable and maybe even economically bring empowerment to the indigenous knowledge that we have as Africans in terms of the treatments that we use in our traditional African medicine.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
Yeah, and also we need to make sure that we have what do they call it? Property rights or something like that.
Yes.
Whereby our products are not being used and taken and being explored elsewhere.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be only herbs. Even our exotic animals are being taken and going to be used for something elsewhere. Everything that is ours. We need to benefit from whatever comes from our ground. But that's where our unity is very important as Black people, to make sure that we take care and we protect what is ours. And like you say, raise it to the level whereby it can also be used. It can also be adopted into the world as part of what is everyday use. It's very important that that happens, because it's if you want to look at history, our way of life, our lifestyle, I'm not sure we should go back to it, but it needs to be adopted and make sure that it was a healthy way of living. We never suffered some of the diseases that we suffer now as Africans, as Black people. We never used to suffer them. But now, because of any of the problems, we have those problems.
No, that's a very good point, Doc. You're very right. So now, given the fact that you are addressing those issues, how do you basically see us protecting this? I'll tell you one of the reasons. A couple of years back, we had a situation where some of our listeners were very, very excited about the fact that we're consulting them on how to cure some of these ailments that we are seeing. And when they came to me inquiring as to what they should do in as far as dealing with this particular scenario, my advice to the traditional doctors was that, look, don't give away your knowledge, protect your knowledge. So to the points that Utando was raising, I would like to hear what sort of advice would you give to our traditional healers in as far as the protection that you are talking about? Because I think they find themselves as well in a situation whereby on one hand, they are trying to help the world by providing medication, and at the same time, there are people who have the potential of exploiting this, end up with a patent over a drug which in itself is a natural African drug. But when it comes back, it will come back to us in pill form. How do we protect that? Over back to you, Tando. Please, if you can address that for us, Doc, and then Tando will take over again.
I got cut. Hi, Tando. I got cut.
Sorry, I got cut also.
I didn't hear the question fully, but I think I got the gist of it. Basically, meaning my last statement flows from my last statement that we need to really stand up and protect what is ours, make sure that the indigenous knowledge we keep to ourselves. Now, the question is, how do we go about doing it? I think it takes a whole lot of cooperation. I don't think it's an individual or one organizational kind of job that needs to be done. Not only traditionals can do it, but you also need to be. It needs to be done as high as the government itself being aware that there are indigenous knowledge systems that need to be protected, that need to be guarded against. But above everything, it should be everybody. Yeah, I don't have to be a traditional leader to know that I need to protect what is mine. So of course, it brings us back to the fact that we need to be very protective of what is ours.
Absolutely.
If we are going to leave it to the government only, there's going to be a problem. If you are going to give it to the maybe the traditionals only, it's also going to be a problem. And but all of us, if you pull together, for instance, the government can come with protective legislation for that. The government can come with measures that they can implement flowing from legislation. So it needs all of us, in short, Advocate Sabelo, to make sure that we protect what is ours. But we need to pull and we need to be aware. Suppose it starts there as well, whereby we become aware of all these things that you've been alluding to, namely that these things, our valuables can be taken, whether they are herbs or so, and then they come back as something else. So we need to be awake to that and make sure that we cooperate towards protecting what is ours.
Yes, absolutely. I 100% agree with you on that one because, we've seen Chinese medicine being able to do that, and there would be nothing inhibiting or preventing us in doing the same. Just honing our own indigenous knowledge, and distributing that to the world. Take ownership of it. I mean, there's so much indigenous knowledge that Africa brings that is very relevant to providing solutions, and that's what this COVID-19 has actually brought awareness of, that we're going back to our roots and seeing that in actual fact, practices that we've been using on our daily lives that we might have taken for granted could actually be the main cure. We're still looking in those lines, because there's even a renowned institute in Germany that's doing further research on Artemisia annua, but they'd already found some beneficial properties on it. So to the viewers, to the listeners, thank you for joining us this evening. Thank you, Doctor, for all the valuable inputs that you've given us. I'm in a position of wrapping things up. Are we good, Advocate Savelo? Are you happy?
We're very good, Tando. But before you sign off, I would like the two of you to basically talk to us briefly about the importance of a strong immune system. More particularly, that one of the things that we have had is that COVID-19 is quite lethal, especially to people who have an already weakened immune system. Please, just maybe in the last 4 or 5 minutes or so, if you can address the listeners on the importance of a strong immune system and how they can go about it. I know that you've actually scheduled that over the next couple of weeks we'll be talking more in depth about immunity. But I would love a situation where in every program we at least give an element of advice, or let me not say advice, but talk to the importance of immunity so that our people get to basically internalize the importance of immunity, so that as we go on and we actually now get deeper into the foodstuffs that boost immunity, our people will be more knowledgeable in that regard. Because I come from a school of thought that basically says our food is our medicine, and we don't have to wait until we get to a point where our medicine becomes our food. Because some people now basically taking a pill given by a doctor is what their food is, because they are no longer healthy. But if we can eat properly, that food is going to heal us. So I would love for that angle to be touched upon as well.
All right. Before I take it over to you, Doctor, because I believe you'll be able to answer that question very well for us, I'd like to come in and just interject on the point that you had raised about food being our medicine, then medicine being our food, and into the fact that healthcare is a multidisciplinary system that we're looking at. So definitely food does play its role, but we look at it working together with other forms of health, and medicine doesn't come out of the picture at all. Since we have our dear doctor here, it has its role that it plays, its curative role that it plays, and nutrition can play a very good and vital preventative role, and also assists in a where a person has been diagnosed with a certain condition, and taking particular types of medicine can assist the condition further in being managed. But we do not scrap out medicine totally altogether. So over to you, Doctor. Importance of a good immune system. What would you say is the importance of a good immune system, more especially in this time?
I'm very happy that Advocate Savelo has raised that question. I think it's paramount, very important. And I don't even know where to start. But what I can say is, of all the investment that we can make, it's actually being shown that the best investment is in our health. It's in a good immune system. So that you can make a good financial and whatever investment, but you are not going to enjoy it if you are not healthy. So it's actually better to invest there. As you invest in other areas, you must invest in a good health. That's the first thing. The second thing, I did allude to it earlier on and say, our lifestyle, the way we lived before, even the food we ate, it's been proven over time it was even healthier. Studies have shown that there used to be a situation where there were certain conditions which didn't affect us.
Absolutely.
Because of that lifestyle. I mean, just to make it short, I would say anything in your gut, starting from your stomach, your intestine, or whatever. If there was cancer, Black people didn't suffer from that.
True.
But that's because of how we ate. And the only reason the scientists came up with was because of how the Caucasians ate. That's how they had more cancer of the stomach and so on and so on. Now, because we've moved towards there, now there's probably a blurring of the lines. We also suffer it. I mean, I was getting shocked myself. I think about 20 years in private practice. I was getting shocked when I got my first patient who was a Black person with cancer of the stomach. Like, where do you get it? But that's because of this. Anyway, the other things will be things like getting high blood pressure on someone who's less than 30 years. I was like, you don't normally get that. It's almost like, how fish was born to swim.
Yeah.
Fish swim, that's what they should do. Birds were meant to fly, Humanity was meant to put one foot in front of the other. if you know what I'm trying to say. So we're meant to be more active, but now our lifestyle is more sedentary. You know, you get into a car, get to work, which is like sit on a desk, well, in front of a desk, and come get into the car again, come sit in front of a TV, blah blah blah. That affects our health. So it's very important that not only what we eat, but what we do daily. There must be something physical that we put in as part of our daily routine. And right now, as in the medical fraternity, we are actually worried that for some reason, I'm sure you've noted it, all of us. You don't have to be a doctor to know it. Diabetes is on the rise. It's amazing how much there's so much diabetes. I was like, well, anyway, but the way I was trained out, there's not supposed to be so much diabetes, but that's because of the lifestyle. And you take it from diabetes to high blood pressure to heart conditions to cancer, anything, you know, even, you know, if we are physical, we get natural feel good hormones called endorphins. That actually reduces stress.
It does.
I've just explained how our life has become sedentary. Does it make sense now why maybe we're so cranky, almost all of us? Why there's so much suicide rates? Why there's so much depression? So it's important that we do it. And Advocate Sabelo, it's also important to know that probably a personal decision that we must make it, and a conscious one to say we're going to try to live healthy. And I can't say more except to say that even we need to, Tando said it some time back, that we need to make sure that we put in or make sure that the way we used to eat is also incorporated into our modern diet somehow, because it's very healthy.
Absolutely agree on that. And for our viewers, that's obviously some topics that we are going to delve into more deeply as we continue with our episodes moving forward. What will be exciting though for next week is actually taking a deeper look still in Umhlonyane and getting on board people who have been using this product for many years and who carry the indigenous knowledge to come and inform us more deeply on its properties, on its benefits, and thereof.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that, and I love it. You have set a necessary platform and a necessary foundation, which should set our people thinking, and which should basically put us in the right direction as to what we need to begin to do in as far as our health issues are concerned. And one of the things that I can say, sorry to you guys for having to say this, but you have basically given us an appetizer and we are expecting more.
All right.
You've really whetted our appetites to learn more about this particular subject, because like the doctor said, having invest in your health. So we want to know now, how do we invest in our health? And you spoke about the importance of our diet. What sort of a diet is that? I usually laugh, Doc, when I look at the prescriptions that you as medical practitioners give. I'll come to you and say, Doc, I am sick. You give me a prescription and you say, take this medication with your meals or before meals or after meals. Hardly do you ask me, what am I eating? So if I'm sick because of the food that I'm eating, you give me medication, I take medication and still continue to take the poison that is making the best. So I love the foundation that you have laid, so it will help us more so that we understand that even when we take our traditional medications, they should be complemented by our diet. The medication of its own with a diet that is killing you is basically devoid of any sense, if I can put it that way. So you have basically set us up on a very high tone, and I love it. And I thank you very, very much for the presentation today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and to the viewers, look, we'll be back again, same time, 7 p.m. next week, Wednesday, Upondo TV, blasting out the sounds of African awareness. We need to be aware of who we are, Africa. Thank you very much. Enjoy the week. I'll see you again next week, continuing with our health and wellness show. Your life is your all. Your health is your all. Thank you very much.
Bye.